I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Here we are, Thanksgiving week.
Yes, it's an early one this year, isn't it?
It is. We're glad you're aboard, and we certainly hope that you have some great plans and you have family and friends and everyone else coming over. Lots of good food and lots of great things to eat and talk about. Good football and whatever else.
What's your favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I always look forward to the turkey, of course, and ham and some of the sides are some of my faves. Like my wife has a recipe from her mother, who I think got it from her mom, on the turkey dressing that is just out of this world. It's really, really good. But some of the great vegetables that come along with it and everything else.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the pumpkin pie, and I will say I make some really good stuffed mushrooms. So those are my two favorites.
You've never brought us a sample, but I'll take your word for it.
Hey, well, I'll bring some.
Please do. But we hope that you're going to have a good one as we begin this week, getting ready for Thanksgiving. A couple of things to mention that we have lost one of Georgia's beloved first ladies. Rosalind Carter has passed away. She had been ill for some time now, and she had joined her husband in hospice. Jimmy Carter still, and this could be the end for him too.
Yeah.
Usually when a spouse dies of people who were so close and have been married for so long, the end comes so pretty quickly for the other. And he is 99 now, I believe it is, the oldest living president ever. And Rosalind was 91 when she passed away yesterday. So we'll be, and just some of the things that she accomplished in her lifetime and what she meant to America and the world.
The next president of the United States, my husband, Jimmy Carter.
The Steel Magnolia. That's the nickname given to Rosalind Carter, a first lady who often stood beside, not behind, the 39th president.
I think we just have a mutual respect for each other.
But to President Jimmy Carter, Rosalind was simply his best friend.
It's always been my wife of 63 years that made it possible for me to do whatever I've done.
Born in 1927 to a poor Plains, Georgia family, Eleanor Rosalind Smith was the oldest of four. 18 years later, a persistent future president would set his eyes on a soft-spoken beauty with a southern drawl.
That is the beginning of a wonderful romance, and I can say 68, exciting, loving, interesting, unpredictable, challenging, and I could go on years.
And more than 7 decades later, one was rarely seen without the other.
And over the years, we've become not only friends and lovers, but partners.
From the Georgia governor's mansion to the White House, Rosalind made herself known as a fierce protector of her husband and 4 children.
Jimmy has never had any hint of scandal in his personal or his public life.
When Jimmy Carter won the presidency, his wife declared she'd be more than a hostess, representing the White House on numerous occasions as an official foreign envoy.
I wanted it to be more than just a goodwill trip. I wanted it to be valuable to the countries that I was visiting.
But most notably was Rosalind's work to improve the lives of the elderly and mentally ill.
For too long, these people have not received the care they need.
Her determination to fix a broken system started long before the White House and continued decades after with the Carter Center.
It can be diagnosed, it can be treated, and almost everyone suffering from mental illness can be helped.
She was a small-town girl from Plains, Georgia, but one who made an impact at home and abroad, beside a man who always stopped to listen when Rosalind had something to say.
Well, I think that with the election...
Sarah Blake Morgan, The Associated Press.
I think we should have had one earlier.
So, to First Lady Rosalind Carter, go with God.
Yeah, and they have an interesting love story. Like, people that are married that long, I think that there's a lot of credit given, especially when times get hard and, living through a presidency. And they kind of had a wild ride there for a bit. So, but
he was governor of Georgia, of course.
Yes, of course.
And I can remember the headline in the Atlanta Constitution when Carter announced that he was going to run for president. So Jimmy Carter's running for what? So
they did a lot of amazing things in their life as well.
They did.
Humanitarian things, and she really focused on mental health. So
she did.
big deal here in the state of Georgia.
And something that we still need to focus on and haven't focused enough. So, Ms. Carter, hopefully from the grave, you can help us out from that aspect. Meanwhile, a lot of things going on up in Washington, including, of course, the budget and whether or not who's going to get what, how much money we're going to give, and how many wars we're going to fight, all that sort of thing. So we had a chance to talk with Congressman Buddy Carter last week as he was in town for the Thanksgiving break, and I said, Buddy, anything happening in Washington?
Lots going on, but we did make some really good things happen before we left. We actually got a stopgap spending bill passed. It's going to get us through until, part of it will get us through until January 19th. The other part will be February 2nd. And that's good because the Senate has adopted it. Now the Senate can't jam us and bring a Christmas tree right before Christmas that's got an omnibus with everything in it. That's what we wanted to avoid, and by doing this, we avoided it.
Well, I sure like this new guy.
Yes. Let me tell you, Mike Johnson is a man of faith. He is a strong conservative. He is a constitutional lawyer. He practiced constitutional law for over 20 years, argued cases in front of the Supreme Court successfully. So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Constitution. He is just an all-around good guy, good communicator, very articulate.
Well, he needs to remind the Democrats and even some Republicans we do have a Constitution.
Yes, that is very true. There are times when we stray from it.
What's the status on? He's a good guy because he's being attacked by the Democrats and also the media.
Right.
Buddy, I saw there was an article in the Atlantic that quoted something from his great grandfather, who was a Confederate soldier.
Oh my goodness.
Now, how deep do you have to go to look to besmirch somebody's character?
You know, I'm really not surprised by that. I mean, that's kind of par for the course up there, and it's just ridiculous.
Yesterday you and I were at a meeting, and were you surprised that you didn't have to fight your way through the media horde?
I was surprised, but it was a great meeting. Ladies on the Right, what a great group. I mean, that group is doing some great things, and really, speaker was good, everything was good.
Well, we got a kid from Savannah.
Yes.
Who is an FBI whistleblower. You know, the media used to love whistleblowers.
Sure.
I thought that was just fantastic until it turned on them.
Right.
He said some things that were pretty darn chilling about the FBI that you would have thought he would have talked about the German SS or something.
Well, you're right, and you have to take it all into context. But I will tell you this: I do feel like the FBI as well as the DOJ have been weaponized by this administration, and they're being used against the American people, and that's really sad, and that's something that we've got to stop.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's what he said was chilling. How they're spying on the hell are spying on you.
Sure.
We can go into our Facebook accounts or whatever. No warrants. You see how they've have treated people that have voluntarily said, "I'll come in and see you," but they send a SWAT team for them and embarrass them in front of their family and terrorize them.
That's not America. Not America.
Is there anything we can do? You said one thing about all the funding that
exactly. They want to build a new FBI building. We're not going to let them do that though. They're not showing up for work anyway. I mean, we got empty buildings in Washington D.C. We still don't have everybody back to work, and that's something that we've got to change. And we're certainly not going to spend millions of dollars to build a new building when people aren't even going back to work.
And as far as the budgets and things go, we're working with a woke military now, and we got and of course Janet Yellen tells us we got enough money to fight in Ukraine, we got enough money to fight in Taiwan, we got enough money to fight the border, but we're not doing any of that.
Well, and we need to fight and secure our own border and be more concerned about our border than we are about Ukraine's border. But it's important. There's no question about that. We need to make sure that Ukraine defends itself and to make sure that Putin is not successful. But at the same time, we need to concentrate on our border, not only because of the terrorists that are coming across there, the illegal immigrants, but especially because of the drugs that are coming across there. Fentanyl, killing 200 people every day. Fentanyl poisoning. Over 300 people dying every day because of opioids. That's something we've got to address. Most of that coming across the border.
Well, isn't that what the president was supposed to be addressing in that pristine city of San Francisco with Xi Jinping?
Exactly, and I do applaud him for the effort, and I've seen some effort coming out of the White House, and I'm glad to see that. Not only is he meeting with China and trying to stem the flow of the active ingredients that they use to make that fentanyl over in Central America, but also he's finally, after we've sent numerous letters and introduced pieces of legislation, he's finally understanding the value of naloxone, which can reverse the effects of fentanyl if used quickly enough. So that's good. I'm seeing some progress there.
I would like Buddy to have the Xi Jinping tour, because they cleaned up San Francisco for him. If he could just go down to Los Angeles and Chicago and New York and get those places cleaned up.
That's exactly right. That's what they did with Biden whenever he went to El Paso at the border. They cleaned it up before he got there.
Where do you see it going as far as what's the big thing that you hear from your constituents right now?
From the constituents, it's still inflation. It's still the price of gas, of groceries, of just everyday living. That's what's really mainly on their mind. They are concerned about the southern border. They're concerned about the drugs and about the crime. And all of those things are very important, and they're concerned about the direction that this country is going in right now.
Well, we got, all of a sudden we heard this thing about Osama bin Laden's letter to America on TikTok.
My staff showed me that yesterday. Unbelievable.
I'm stunned.
Yeah.
We got to start teaching this stuff in our schools, and what America's all about.
Right.
Get back to fundamentals.
Absolutely, no question about that. That's where it starts, in education.
And as far as our, we got the Hyundai plant starting here. The desire for EVs is dropping like a stone in free fall. Have you heard anything about whether or not they're going to switch over to making something else, hybrids or what?
And that, I haven't heard about this particular plant, but I will tell you that's something I'm concerned about. What happens if we get a different administration in this next election and they all of a sudden reverse course? Mm-hmm. Then, we could be left holding the bag there. So I'm very concerned about that. Look, we all want our environment to be saved. We all want clean energy, but we've got to be practical about it. We've got to have an all-of-the-above type energy strategy. Thank goodness we got nuclear energy now right here in Georgia. The first nuclear reactors built in over 30 years in the United States, right here in Georgia. We've got baseload power. That's one of the reasons why for the 11th year in a row we're the best state to do business in, because we've got the availability of power. That's very important.
My wife's my daughter-in-law's father works in California. He has a trucking company.
Right.
He said they're in brownouts all the time.
Oh, absolutely. No better example of how you can do things wrong than California.
Going back to the border, what did you say to some of your fellow congressmen who voted against not impeaching Mayorkas, who's one of the most incompetent boobs in the history of mankind?
I was really disappointed in that. I've said all along, if there's anyone who deserves to be impeached, it's Mayorkas, because he has failed the American public by allowing that to happen the way it has happened at the border. I voted to impeach him, and I think we should have.
What's next for you?
What's next is, we're going to get these appropriation bills done. That's going to be very important. We're trying to get back to regular order. We're trying to get back to fiscal sanity. Bill, every second this country borrows $78,000. Every second.
It takes me months to make that kind of money.
Unbelievable. This is not sustainable. I mean, $33.6 trillion in debt? We can't continue on this. If you take the 4 top line items in our budget, the 4 top expenditures, number 1, Social Security, number 3, Medicare, number 4, defense. Guess what number 2 is? The interest on our debt. The interest on our debt. Unbelievable.
All right. Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, pal. Appreciate the time.
All right.
First District Congressman Buddy Carter.
Yes, and I mean, honestly, the only thing that they can say they've accomplished is releasing the January 6th tapes.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, in the full year that they have been in charge up on Capitol Hill, not much results from them.
And you're not going to see a whole lot of insurrection when you see those January 6th tapes that have been released, something that the January 6th committee failed to show us.
Yeah, and we're
Hard
going
to
to
believe.
we're going to be jumping into that a little bit later in the show and talking about some of those videos that were released, and also what should happen to this January 6th committee that told a bunch of lies.
Yeah. I hope they get like 33 years in prison.
Me too.
But coming up next, Stephen Friend, Savannah's own, a whistleblower. He's got his book out called True Blue. Brittany, I am so old I can remember when whistleblowers were in favor in the media.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So he has blown the whistle on the FBI. We're going to hear a portion of his speech that he gave the ladies on the right on Thursday, and then a talk with Stephen Friend that the rest of the media ignored. Coming up next. Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit. Greetings.
I'm Brittany Brown.
I'm Bill Edwards.
We're the co-hosts of Get Real America.
We're the CEO and the president of something we call the Local Spin, and there's a reason we call it the Local Spin.
We want to cover stories that really impact your life at the local level. Don't have a local business? No problem. If you know people that have a local business, make sure you reach out to them and let them know that they should advertise on our show.
Our rates are extremely reasonable, a lot better than you find in most of the media in this town, and you will get results. I promise. You will be investing in something that's important.
If you don't have the ability to donate, make sure you like our page and share it with your friends. Have you always wanted to own a local media company? Well, now's your opportunity.
Here we are.
Make sure you become an investor today. Make sure that you go to thelocalspin.com/GRA and donate there. We want to provide an evening and morning news to you in a way that you've never seen before, but we need your help.
Yeah, this is something that what NPR said that they were supposed to be. NPR gets something in the range of $450 million of your tax money every year to slant the news the way they want to and to not cover stories that they need to be covering.
You need local media. Make sure to check us out and donate today.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And happy Thanksgiving. Also, it's the birthday of the President of the United States. The faux president is 81 today. Whoopee. Meanwhile.
Can you believe that they want to run him again?
Yeah. Well, when you've got a sock puppet and they can do anything if you want, you tell him to. That why not? Why don't you keep this guy? And you actually have the media standing up for it. I actually saw, I think it was on either on the Communist News Network or BSDNC the other day, of a guy just singing his praises, saying just how hard this guy works. That he said, most 40-year-olds couldn't keep up with him as much as he did. Well, of course, if you only had a 4-hour day, you could work your tail off.
I know, if you work like what is it, 10 to noon maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, so
only a couple hours, but
and you're up for your favorite noonday meal, breakfast.
Yeah.
So, but a happy birthday to the Biden crime syndicate's head, Joe Biden, the big guy.
Yeah, the big guy.
Yes, sir. And one of the things that, of course, that the Democrats are doing is using the DOJ, the FBI, and any other law enforcement agency against us, against America. It's hard to believe. I know you find this hard to believe, but the FBI ain't what it used to be. What used to be one of the greatest investigative organizations in the history of the planet is now nothing more than a apparatchik with the Democrat Party and this president and the DOJ and Merrick Garland. When a person comes and says, who is arrested for demonstrating in front of a Planned Parenthood building, and his son, about 11 or 12 years old, gets harassed by a Planned Parenthood advocate, and then he's investigated. He tells the FBI, just tell me when you want me to come down there. I'll be glad to talk to you. They show up at his house at like 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, I think, with a SWAT team and guns pointed in his face, terrorizing him, his wife, and his kids. Then you know that there's a problem here. This is something that we heard back in the 1930s with Nazi Germany, and it's that bad. Stephen Friend is a Savannah native. He is a former FBI agent and a whistleblower. Now, one of the things we've talked about, Brittany, all the time is the power of the media to ignore. Well, Stephen Friend from Savannah, ladies on the right, he was here Thursday. It was like at noon. I don't remember there was any, I don't think anybody was bleeding anywhere. I don't remember any accidents that the news media had to cover. None of the corporate-owned news media in this town bothered to show up. You think this would be a pretty good story? Yeah, isn't it shocking? Yeah. And he talked about something that the FBI is doing now. They formed a little task force to try to get rid of anybody that's conservative, anybody who's served in the military. You're going to hear this is a portion of his speech on Thursday to ladies on the right at what used to be the Plantation Club, but we don't want to offend anybody now, so it's now the Palmetto Club. But he was out there at the Plantation Club, that I'll still call it that, talking to this group about some of the worst things that the FBI is doing. This is going to shock you because your tax dollars are at work.
Just had a contract for new tires on all the FBI's vehicles. They're going to be made out of soy. There was paid mental wellness hours. Every FBI employee gets 3 paid hours a week to work on their mental wellness. Happiness seminars where they talked about the effects of smiling, speaking good words, and doing good deeds. Gay pride events honoring the monkeypox czar and an avowed Satanist, Dmitry Daskalakis. Last week we learned that the FBI assigned 300 agents temporarily to investigate employees that they suspected held conservative beliefs. They're purging employees believed to be conservatives, military veterans, unvaccinated, refuse to wear a mask if you practice religious worship regularly, or if you have lots of children.
And there's a lot more of that speech, but man, he is a very dynamic speaker, and I heard he got the crowd quite riled up on Thursday.
Yeah, it was incredible. It would send chills up your spine, some of the things that he told about what the FBI is doing now, including that wonderful director, Christopher Wray. Says Wray doesn't like traffic, even though he's chauffeured. He takes the private jet, the FBI's private jet, on like a 10-minute flight to the next airport if he's going to be going somewhere. So doesn't
that go against the climate change role that the
well, they're going to soy tires. What do you want? I want to find out how well those tires do made out of soy. But I'd certainly like to have 4 of them on my car, please.
Ridiculous. Well, also, I know, where's our return on investment on those? How much more do we have to replace those as the taxpayer? Because the government does not, they don't make money. They take your money.
Yeah. When you're spending somebody else's money, you don't care how much it costs.
Yeah, it's very true.
It doesn't make any difference. But the things that he told were just absolutely chilling. Of the people that are, you just heard it right there. They've got these committees that they're investigating people to say internally. If you go into church, they have task groups going into Catholic churches now to see if there's any subversion there, and the so-called white supremacy of domestic, these domestic terrorists that they're always worried about. Seems to me that all these people that we see are causing all the trouble aren't domestic terrorists from the conservative standpoint.
No, definitely not. And you were lucky enough to have a one-on-one with Stephen Friend on Thursday because no one else in the media happened to show up.
I didn't have to fight my way through the media horde, and shame on you for not showing up. But we had a chance to talk with Stephen about where things stand now and what the situation is.
Welcome back home.
Great to be home. It's always fun to be back in Savannah.
What's going to be your message today to these folks?
You know, I had the opportunity to testify to Congress, but politicians are politicians. They sort of cut you off. I had a whole bunch of information, and so I've sort of made it my mission now to share the information that I think is the American people are entitled to about some FBI weaponization.
Isn't it amazing that the lamestream media used to just love whistleblowers? They just loved them when they were talking about all this stuff that the right was supposedly doing. But suddenly we come up on something as critical as the FBI or something, and you start criticizing them, and suddenly you find yourself persona non grata or something.
Exactly, and look, it's really simple. There's a law on the books. It's 5 U.S.C. 2303. It lays it out for an FBI agent or employee to come forward if you have a reasonable concern about waste, fraud, abuse, or risk to the public safety, which I did. I brought it to the right channels, and I'm supposed to have the protection. I don't really care about being a self-styled whistleblower, as the Democrats allege. I want them to take up the information I brought forward and check on the veracity of it, because that is my concern and always has been. They can call me whatever they want, grifter, conspiracy theorist, political partisan. They have yet to call me wrong.
It's an excellent point. Has it surprised you of the negative reaction? Because not only you've been criticized, but all these people that are coming forward have been highly criticized by the left and the Democrats, but I repeat myself.
Well, I'm a firm believer in you get all the flack when you're over the target. And there's a reason that the FBI and the media and the Democrat Party circled the wagons and attacked the messenger, myself and the other whistleblowers that have come forward. And that's because they know that the information we have is damning about FBI abuse, and they want to keep it as their plaything. They want to keep it as the teeth on the attack dog that they can go after their perceived political enemies.
Well, there's sometimes that, they never finish the sentence. They say that, Donald Trump is such a dangerous person because he's acting like Hitler, using Hitler's words, and he wants to dismantle the FBI. He's going to use his power to dismantle the FBI and the CIA, and that makes him a dangerous person. Actually, I think he wants to bring it back to the FBI you wanted to work for.
Yeah, projection is a powerful drug. It seems to me that every time that they make an accusation against Donald Trump or any right-wing politician, a conservative, they always say what they are doing themselves. I saw recently that they were saying that if Donald Trump were to be reelected president, he would immediately go after his political enemies using lawfare to do it. Well, what do you think the Joe Biden administration is doing presently?
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Well, what's your status now? Where do you stand? Obviously, this doesn't go over big at headquarters.
No, it didn't. So I was suspended indefinitely without pay, and actually there was a number of usurpations against me throughout the process, ultimately culminated when I testified in front of Congress the first time, and behind closed doors, I had to resign in order to accept a new job. The FBI would refuse to allow me to accept an outside job after 150 days. Took a position, a fellowship with a think tank, and then ultimately, the day I testified publicly, the FBI revoked my security clearance. So I think the odds of me making a return back to that agency as an agent are slim to none, but that's okay. I think as it's presently constituted, I would like for it to be broken into 1,000 pieces and spread to the ash bin of history. And I've had the opportunity here to expand through Center for Renewing America, where I have my fellowship, and then I'm also launching a podcast this coming week, American Radicals podcast. It's on Rumble, and I'm doing that with Garrett O'Boyle, who's another whistleblower, and we're going to talk about these issues and continue to just hammer them to the American people.
Good for you. What about your colleagues that have also come forward? What's their status?
Well, a number of them are still under unpaid indefinite suspension, Garrett O'Boyle being one of them, Marcus Allen. Those guys have not been paid for between 1 and 2 years. They have never received $1. And in fact, when we had a charitable arrangement where we had a give, send, go to set up to make them whole, the Democrats said that if they accepted that money, they would be in violation of their agreement with the FBI, so they were unable to take that. So now we've had to go through hurdles of establishing a 501c4 and getting a bank set up that we were able to route those funds to them, and we're still 6 months later trying to work through the red tape on it. But it's called the Suspendable Support Fund, and hopefully in the near future we'll be able to at least get those guys, keep them treading water as long as they can, because they are continuing to hold the line as FBI employees. They do not want to accept the label of former employee who's just scorned and angry at the FBI, and they're continuing to fight on those front lines, hoping that others will follow behind them.
In the world we live in today, have you received threats? Are you worried about your safety?
Threats to my safety, it's the internet. There's a lot of mental disease out there, but I do have it on good authority. There are 1 to 2 domestic terrorism investigations of me by the FBI. So, I always count my lucky stars at 6:01 every morning that they haven't come, but it's something that I'm prepared to accept the consequences of that, because You got to do the right thing, and that's not always easy.
Yeah, the SWAT team showing up at 3 in the morning, waking up you and your family, and the frogmen are out there in the pond nearby or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they'd have the decency to call me on the telephone, but you know, the things that we've seen them go after guys like Mark Houck or Roger Stone or the raid at Mar-a-Lago. Obviously, the process is the punishment for the FBI with its perceived political enemies.
What are you going to do going forward now? You're speaking to groups like this, and so what preserve, you're kind of popular on the speaking circuit for this type of group?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to anybody. I'm still waiting on the call from MSNBC to come on, but I've traveled around. I've had the opportunity to speak in Alabama, in Florida, in Georgia, Tennessee, New York. So all over, there's an appetite for this information. People are starting to wake up to these issues, and without question, every single time I present, people's jaws drop because they do not know what is actually going on. So doing that, and then also have the book out there which has all this information in there. It's True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower.
Yeah, we're shameless in the self-promotion, so by all means tell people where they can get the book.
The best place to do it is at Amazon where it's available, and I've been telling folks, look, we're upon the Christmas season. It's a good, nice read if you want to pick up a copy, and if you want to get a second one and send it to the Hoover Building to Christopher Wray, I think that he would appreciate some nice winter reading.
Oh, that would be great. And for him to get about 50,000 copies, I think would be fantastic.
I think a whole pallet showing up at that building
absolutely.
would be fantastic.
Yeah, for real. And finally, what about your family? You're from here, family here. I mean, they must be proud of you, and also worried about and concerned about what goes forward here.
Yeah, I'm from Savannah. My wife's family is here as well. We're currently living in Florida, but drivable distance, so we were able to visit the in-laws and my folks, and obviously I'd really like to have the opportunity to come up and speak to my community. It always has an extra special meaning to come here.
So if I have this straight, Morning Joke hasn't contacted you, or George Stuffing Envelopes, or anybody of those?
Nope. You know, I had the one chance meeting in an airport with a New York Times reporter, and he didn't want to take me up on any sort of interview.
See, thank you for your message, and God bless you. Thank you for your courage to come forward.
All right, God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Here's the book, True Blue. Highly recommend it. Get 2 of them, one for you. They make great Christmas presents, and you can send one to Christopher Wray. I would love to see a FedEx and a UPS 18-wheeler pull up in front of the J. Edgar Hoover building with pallets of these books for Christopher Wray and his Confederates.
100%. And what an impressive guy, willing to put himself out there. It's not easy, especially when you've heard how many people like Chuck Schumer say the FBI, all they have to do, they'll find you and they'll bury you.
6 ways to Sunday.
Yeah.
And his wife lost her job for some mysterious reason and hasn't been able to get employment elsewhere. Isn't that interesting? So I highly recommend the book to you, True Blue, by Stephen Friend. It's Stephen with a PH, and he is absolutely fantastic. Savannah's own. And once upon a time, the media just loved whistleblowers.
Yeah, and George Allen's with us this morning. Good morning, George.
Hey, George.
I wanted to talk to Stephen Friend. It would have been a great opportunity to go to Ladies on the Right and speak with him. If we know of another event that he's going to be at, we will let you guys know.
I identify as a lady on the right, so I was there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but we were the only media that was there, and that is pathetic. So you ought to think about that. When we ask for people to advertise with us, and you're going to be spending tens of thousands of dollars advertising on these other stations that are run by corporate somewhere, because I bet you if they had covered this story, the reporter would have been put on the carpet, or they wouldn't have gotten it on the air whether they covered it or not. It's just disgusting.
Yes,
and that's the state of the media today. They don't cover the news; they cover up the news.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. So. Make sure you go and support us at thelocalspin.com, and we will be right back after this.
Yeah, coming up next. Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning. Here we are as we head down to the home stretch of the Thanksgiving.
Yes, and I'm very excited about Thanksgiving. One of my favorite holidays. I think it's always good to reflect on the things that you're grateful for, especially for this year has been a wild one for most people. So, I'm excited to share that with people that I care about, and hopefully you guys are as well. One of the things that happened, there's a bunch of news that broke on Friday, which is always interesting when they choose to break the news on a Friday.
Yeah.
One of the things that broke was that the case in Colorado was ruled upon. I believe it was over 111, I think it was 111 pages was her ruling, allowing Trump to stay on the ballot. However, it is going to go to the Colorado Supreme Court. She did enter, however, the January 6th committee's report, which I didn't know we were allowed to do, especially when there were so many problems with that committee. It was not standard practice in the House for how they set that up. We've all heard the issues with that, but she made sure that was entered into the case, which I thought was interesting. But she did have a question about the 14th Amendment, since it did not list the president specifically, so that will go to the Colorado Supreme Court. It is definitely a left-wing Supreme Court in Colorado, so I believe that they will rule that he was an insurrectionist and that he has to be taken off the ballot, which I believe will then go to the U.S. Supreme Court, which it will be interesting to see how this plays out, because there's a lot of speculation that the Supreme Court justices that were appointed by Trump would maybe have to recuse themselves, or maybe should recuse themselves, which I don't really understand, but...
the others don't.
Exactly.
How many cases do we have of where they have ruled, where they have direct contact with the particular party, and they don't recuse themselves from that one?
No, and so we'll see how it goes, but hopefully the pressure put on those Supreme Court justices will be the pressure from the right, saying you need to do the right thing.
Exactly.
But we shall see. I do think that this still opens the door for them to take him off the ballot at the Supreme Court of Colorado level, and then you don't know what the U.S. Supreme Court's going to do. I've been surprised on the cases they've taken and the cases they haven't. So they could have resolved this election stuff if they just would have taken a case.
Yeah, for sure. Because the Supreme Court, by the way, it has it's open. I mean, you could argue a case in front of the Supreme Court if they say they can accept anything they want.
Yep.
It's an interesting concept.
Yes. Well, the other thing that broke, I don't know if you saw it, was Stacey Abrams' brother-in-law was arrested in Florida for an underage girl trafficking and I believe sexual assault. So
there's also a story, once again, the media's power to ignore, as Stacey Abrams' organization has been accused of squandering over $100,000 in funds that have come in from people who were stupid enough to donate to her causes.
Yes, she was in trouble with the FCC, I believe.
Yeah.
So that should be so that should be interesting. But she's definitely faded into the sunset for now. So we'll see.
So she's writing her pornographic novels and I guess probably and making a great fortune on. I think she's a multimillionaire now. Just to let you know that people are stupid enough to give her money.
Yes, and one of the other things that broke on Friday was that the new Speaker of the House kept his promise and he released the January 6 tapes. I don't know about you, Bill, but I was very surprised to see that.
Well, I'm glad that he did because when Tucker Carlson did it, he was crucified by the media and by some of the members of the Senate because it destroyed their entire argument just by showing the shaman, the guy with the Viking helmet, walking around very peacefully, being escorted by Capitol Police. His own attorney said he hadn't seen that video.
Yep, and so that is ultimately the video that got him off, and now I believe he is actually running for a House or a Senate seat somewhere.
Let me know where I can contribute.
Yes, so, but I think one of the things that we're seeing is that the story that they told us, this January 6th committee that we had to listen to for how many years? 3, 2.5?
At least, and in prime time a couple of times. Shame on the networks.
Some of the videos being released. Number one, there was a video released of them carrying out Ashley Babbitt, which was horrible. I didn't pull that video because I thought it was pretty grotesque.
That, by the way, is the only person who died on January the 6th, and she was murdered in cold blood by a Capitol Police officer for the crime of breaking a window.
Well, and I don't think she broke the window, but
or at least trying to get through a door, and and then the media stands up for this cretin, and by saying, well, this woman was a trained killer. She was in the military.
She was tiny. She was a tiny little person.
She was unarmed, and was she about 5'6", something like that?
Yeah.
Served us honorably for 11 years in the Air Force. I think 2 or 3 tours in Afghanistan or in the Middle East.
Yeah,
a true American hero, and she's murdered in cold blood. And the DOD looks into it and says, nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. Go back to work. And then this idiot goes on national television, like the Today Show, which still hasn't had Stephen Friend on, by the way. Goes on the Today Show and starts claiming that he's the victim. Yeah. Oh, please. And the Babbitt family has been trying to sue and to try to get some sort of reparations, and they have been slapped down at every turn.
Yeah, and Georgia Allen says, yes, Steve Bannon said that. He's been spot on throughout the whole thing. That video will be historic. Yes, it will. And this video that has been posted, they still haven't gotten through all of the footage, so it will continue to be uploaded and will be available to everyone online. So, but this video that was pulled,
let's take a look.
Yes. Clip 10.
So let's take a look. And what's the deal? Is this an undercover federal agent of some sort? Is he, was he sent out there maybe dressed as a Trump supporter? Looked like he was going to go to try to cause trouble? Because that's what we have a lot. I talked to people who were there, who so far have not been arrested or investigated, but I'm sure that's only a matter of time. Who said,
we're outside the DNC, we're outside the Democratic Party headquarters because this party claims to be on the side of life and peace.
Okay, there was that woman that was that needed to be put in a straight jacket, in front of the Democrat National Headquarters, protesting their support of Israel.
Yes, and you can find all of the January 6th footage at cha.house.gov/CHA subcommittee.
Did you write that down?
Yes, you will be able to. You can literally Google it, but. There is a lot of footage out there, and some of the other footage, I don't know if we have the photo of the guy that actually flashed his badge as he was walking through security, but dressed up as a Trump supporter with a MAGA hat on, and definitely had his face covered, but definitely looks a little suspicious that he was flashing a badge in order to get through. So,
but I talked to several people who were there and saw the buses that came in and people getting off. They were Antifa types. Or Black Lives Don't Matter unless they're shot by the police, taking their regular garb off and putting on Trump T-shirts and MAGA caps and things of that nature. This was deliberate. This was planned. When and we still haven't gotten any answer from the media on why they aren't reporting Donald Trump saying that he ordered, like, was it 10,000 or 20,000? U.S. troops or the National Guard to come in, and it was denied by both Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C.
Yes, and they took out Kash Patel's transcript from this committee, and so that's also not being entered. That's also another problem in the case in Colorado, is that his testimony was not put in there because they must have lost it. I don't know.
Yeah, it was one of the dog ate my homework.
Yes, so big issues here because here's the thing, all of this stuff is coming out, but how long have we known this, Bill? It's not new.
Almost forever.
Yeah, so, but a majority of the American people do not understand what these people did, or they don't understand that it was created by these people. People that rioted, yes, absolutely, they should be punished. People that trespassed, okay, fine, do that. But when you have people shaking police hands and they're touring the Capitol, you cannot hold those people accountable because they would never know that they were doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
So
we haven't prosecuted or persecuted anybody that burned down, that tried to burn down the president's church when Donald Trump was in office.
Yep.
When he went over there, they haven't tried to do anything as far as prosecuting any of the people in the Summer of Love 3 years ago. When they burned out, when there were 560 mostly peaceful demonstrations. You want to see a mostly peaceful demonstration? It's another one the media pretty much ignored. Was the 300,000 that showed up to support Israel last week?
Yes, that was pretty amazing, and also
the New York Times didn't cover it at all. The Washington Compost did not have it on the front page. Did not have it in the A section. They actually put it in the Metro section.
Interesting. Again, like you always say, the media's greatest power is the power to ignore. And a lot of these stories aren't getting out there, but I'm hoping that this January 6th stuff, because when you saw this reported on CNN that the January 6th was released, they were not talking about the video content. They were talking about how dare Mike Johnson put the Capitol Police and all of these people at risk, because now there's going to be all this information compromised because people are going to know where the cameras are.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
Oh, for sure.
Ridiculous.
Don't know where the cameras are. Hell, the cameras are everywhere. There ain't no such thing as privacy anymore.
I know. People are ridiculous. But we do have some good news. George Allen actually beat me to the punch. The Javier Milei victory and bombshell over the weekend. He is the new Argentinian president. We're going to be talking about that when we get back.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. Coming up next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Monday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, it should be a nice one actually this year. So make sure you are spending it with people that you care about and eating yummy food.
Yeah, we got some rain for the next couple of days as predicted, but it looks like Thanksgiving's going to clear up, or at least going to be cloudy. It'll feel like Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact. The temperature's going to be in the 60s. Always hate it when we get up on Thanksgiving Day and it's nice, bright, and sunny, and 80 degrees. No, this doesn't feel like Thanksgiving at all.
I love it. I love living in the South because you do get good weather more often than not, especially through the winter. So I definitely love that. But, Argentina decided that they're sick of socialism, turns out. It hasn't fared well for them. The new president, he's been called the Trump of Argentina. He is anti-socialist. He does not gild a lily. And so one of the reporters asked him, why do you call these far leftist extremists little shits? And he's like, because they are. Oh. So he has no problem with being not being politically correct, which you can see he won handedly in this race. And very exciting news for people of Argentina. I think that they're going to see a lot of things unfold in a positive way. Yeah.
Far cry from Juan Perón, that's for darn sure.
Yes.
So, in fact, at the opposite end of the spectrum. Just to give you a little bit of history, when Juan Perón took over as the president of Argentina, Argentina was exporting over half of the world's beef and 80% of the world's corn. And people started complaining the farmers were making too much money. So they started putting price controls on the food. And production began dropping and dropping to the day where Argentina, over the next few years, had to start importing food to feed its own people.
It's ridiculous, Bill.
Yeah, so that's what socialism does, okay? That's what price controls do.
Well, and he said he's getting rid of the diversity, inclusion, equity department, the culture department, the environmentalist department. There's probably 7 or 8 different departments that he's like, they're gone. We're done.
And when asked what what Donald Trump should be doing,
he said double down.
Mm-hmm.
He said double down, and I just wanted to see the energy of this guy. He is quite incredible. He took the stage after winning, and basically had a party by himself on stage.
Yeah, you think that lady that was excited about buying a business was happy? Look at this guy.
Yes. Maybe we have that video. Nope, 19.
Okay.
19.
Well.
19.
And they're happy too. We'll tell you about that here in just a minute. These are Border Patrol agents that are being fed Thanksgiving meal by, let's see, was it President Biden? Oh no, it's Donald Trump. Okay, here we go.
He is having a great time. Look at that energy, though. I think that people are sick of the standard politician. That's why you want to see someone that has that energy and is just, behaves like a normal person.
To your point about the economy, that's a big point, because no matter how much job growth.
Sorry, guys, a couple of technical issues on a Monday morning.
Yeah, we love modern technology, especially when it works.
Yes, and George Allen says, I hope he has better security than the candidate for Ecuador. Absolutely.
Boy, isn't that the truth.
And Lizzie Warren said Argentina gave us the current pope. You can't win them all, but I think the tide is changing in a lot of these countries because people are seeing how bad it can get. And guess what? People don't like living under socialism, turns out.
And for you Catholics, by the way, I hope you get us a new pope real soon.
Yeah, and
yesterday would have been nice.
Malai has called the current pope evil. So this guy, like I said, he calls him as he sees him. He does not worry about what the press has to say about what language he uses or what he does. And for some reason, that resonated really well with the Argentinian people.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
So, Donald, keep it up. Double down. Take his advice and go after these people. And for the rest of you in the Republican Party and the rest of the Republican candidates, your enemy is Joe Biden, not Donald Trump. Okay.
That's true.
Go for a cabinet post or vice presidency. All right.
Yeah, actually try to be a part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's a novel concept in the Republican Party.
The Democrats certainly are.
Well, and it was said by Mayor Johnson a few weeks ago that they are also worried about the infighting in the Democrat Party. They said if they don't get it together, they will lose Georgia, and if you lose Georgia, you lose everything. So we feel the same on the Republican side. Georgia is very important. So make sure if you're not involved, get involved because there is a lot of work to do before the 2024 election. But speaking of Donald Trump, you saw some footage of him serving the people, the border security out in Texas. He took a picture with every single person that wanted one. Even his people Trump, no, you cannot do this, and he did it anyways, which is something he's known for doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just tell him he can't do something and see how fast that works.
Yes, well, I think his security detail, I'm sure it is like not fun to travel with this president because he kind of does what he wants. Yes, and if you miss President Trump, he's got more energy than ever, doesn't he?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yes.
But I'm glad those of you who didn't vote for him, who didn't like the tweets. How do you like him now? Okay.
Well, I don't see
Did
Biden.
you like the less than 2% inflation? Did you like gasoline that was under $2 a gallon? Did you like the fact that we were energy independent? Did you like the fact that we had plenty of food and plenty of supplies?
No new wars. You forgot that one.
No new wars.
Nice.
No American soldiers killed in the last 2 years of his presidency. Gee, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think some of the things that happened over the weekend, like I said, it was a busy news weekend.
It was.
He picked up the endorsement from Governor Abbott, which I can't imagine why he picked up that endorsement. He was probably one of the best things for Texas and the border. So picked up that endorsement, as well as, of course, the lovely governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yeah.
So
way to go.
Picked up those two endorsements, which are not surprising, but are fantastic, especially as we see the Republican Party continuing with this rate of having more debates. I think we're going to have 4 people on stage in December, which seems just absolutely ridiculous.
This one's going to be on News Nation.
Yay.
This is the one that was started by WGN in Chicago, and they gave us this big buildup on how straightforward they were going to be. It was going to be just the news. There was going to be no bias whatsoever. We're just going to report it, and as and all of a sudden people will disappear just like that.
Yes.
But then they hire Chris Cuomo. Okay, that just shot you down right then and there.
All the credibility gone in one instance.
Yes, sir. Right down the Great White Porcelain Facility.
Yes, and George Allen says, don't quote me on evil, but the best info was when Tucker Carlson interviewed him, talking about the new president of Argentina. Yes, that was a great interview. If you are not watching Tucker on X, yes, I'm still getting used to calling it X, formerly known as Twitter. He does some phenomenal work, and he's doing work all around the world. It's not just U.S.-based, but it's also talking about how the U.S. impacts every single country. As the U.S. goes, so does everyone else.
He's even been mentioned as a vice presidential.
I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in on a VP. I'll take him for sure.
Absolutely.
I think he could be a nice balance to Trump. I think that Trump will be the nominee just based off the polling.
And by the way, Tucker's got like 10 times the audience now he had on Fox.
Yeah, imagine that.
So
Imagine that.
You did him a favor.
Well, he could be more interesting too. I think that
absolutely.
Tucker Unleashed is actually quite enjoyable to watch.
For sure. As we close it up today, we're of course going to Thanksgiving. Our high school football teams love to still be practicing this time of year, and we have 3 of them. I'd like to congratulate Benedictine. They are the defending Class 4A champions, and they won their 23rd straight game on Friday night when they beat LaGrange in the playoffs 31-7. Wasn't even close. And they will host North Oconee at Memorial Stadium this Friday night. Calvary had their 7th shutout in a row when they beat Thomasville 49-0. So they will be hosting Wayne Wesleyan at Calvary on Friday night as well. And then there's the Cinderella team, Jenkins. Jenkins High School lost their last game of the season by a pretty wide margin, but they have now won 2 playoff games by a total of 2 points. On Friday night they beat Dutchtown 28-27, and so they're on the road again this weekend. But best of luck to the Warriors. What a great Cinderella story so far.
I love it. And we will have Sheila Matthews on the show this week as well. If you don't know who that is, look up ablechild.org. She is incredible. I'm excited to be able to have her on the show.
And we're continuing our series on Meet the Chiefs, our police chiefs of Chatham County. The Chatham County Police Chief, Jeff Hadley, will be with us tomorrow as well. So tell all your friends. And as far as the corporate media stations go that won't cover the news for you, that you might be spending tens of thousands of dollars with to advertise, maybe you ought to switch some of that money over to us, because we do cover the news. We don't cover it up.
Yes. So remember to go to thelocalspin.com. You can donate, become a member, and you can advertise with us if you have a business. So go check it out, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Want to keep getting the truth? Support us. Stay real. See you tomorrow.